Hello everyone, welcome to the course on Art and Culture of Odisha for OPSC Civil Service Examinations by Subharanjan IAS. In this session, in this course, we'll be talking about all the important and exam relevant art, culture, heritage related topics with special focus on state of Odisha. Okay, so in today's lecture, we'll have an introductory session. First, we'll see the syllabus that is provided by OPSC for civil service examinations, which will streamline our preparation for this art and culture section. Then we'll see few important terminologies related to the art and culture, its basics. Okay, few basic terminologies with which we as laymen usually use interchangeably, but there are few technical differences that we should understand, because in mains examination they might ask about those terms, okay, which was done by UPSC few years back. So first we'll discuss the syllabus, then we'll discuss few terminologies, then we'll see what topics exactly or what units exactly we'll be studying in the lectures to come, okay, so that you can be well prepared that yes, after this will be done, and that, so that it will help you have a timeline, okay, a timetable, okay. So let's start with the class. So first we'll be discussing the syllabus that is provided by OPSC. So this is the heritage and culture section in the OPSC syllabus, okay. So as you can see, the first sub point of this is relating to Indian culture, okay. So obviously Indian culture part will be there, which will be dealt in other courses, okay. We are focusing on Odisha in this course. So the next 5 subsections of this section of the syllabus is the topic of focus for us. So the first topic mentioned by OPSC is the temple architecture of Odisha, okay. So Odisha has a unique style of temple architecture that is known as the Kalinga style of architecture, which has various subcategories, and the Kalinga style of temple architecture is considered as a part of the Nagara style of architecture that we study about in the Indian art and culture section, okay. So we'll be discussing briefly about the Indian style of temple architectures, that is Dravida, Nagara, Vesara, all those very briefly when we'll be going into the temple architecture section of Odisha, okay. Then the next is about the socio-cultural developments in Odisha. So what are these socio-cultural development? For example, Buddhism, how Buddhism developed in Odisha, what was its status in Odisha when it was in its peak, okay. Which kings patronized Buddhism in Odisha. Similarly, we'll see about Jainism, Jagannath cult, then Islam, Christianity, and few other socio-cultural developments, such as what was the situation of women, how the situation of women developed during the different phases of time, and so on. We'll be discussing all those in this course one by one, okay. Then there is Bhakti movement, which is specifically mentioned, okay. So Bhakti movement can be considered as a part of socio-cultural development, but its importance increases manifold because it has been mentioned separately. Okay. Bhakti movement in Odisha and its impact on society of Odisha. Okay, so Bhakti movement will be discussing in depth when the section comes. Okay, then there is Odia literature. Okay, Odia language and literature. Its various phases of evolution, the old age of Odia language, then the medieval age, the modern age, and various sub category of those ages. Okay, we'll be seeing all those in detail. Many important writers, authors, those who have contributed to Odia language a lot will also be talking about those personalities as well. Okay. And finally, the regional traditions of Odisha, okay, which is the festivals. Then we'll be discussing about various fairs as well. We'll discuss various things that are related to Odisha's regional tradition. Okay. Now, in the syllabus itself, we can see a lot of the basic terminologies that we are going to discuss now. Okay. So, the first basic terminology that we'll be discussing in a few minutes. So, the first term is heritage, that is mentioned in the syllabus. So, what is this heritage? Without knowing what is the heritage, we won't be able to learn anything about it, right? Then we have the culture. Okay, what is this culture? The syllabus heading, it mentions heritage and culture. So, what are these two words? What do they mean? That we have to understand first, right? Then we have architecture. Okay, so what is this architecture? That also we have to identify how it is different from culture, how culture is different from heritage. Okay, so there will be various very small minute technical differences in all these words. Okay, then we have tradition. What do we mean by this tradition? Okay, like how it is different from civilization and culture, all those things we'll be learning. Okay, so first, let's talk about heritage. Okay, so heritage in general refers to whatever we have inherited from the past. Okay, heritage. Okay. So, these are the terminologies that we will be discussing. Okay, so we'll first discuss about heritage. Then we'll see what are the two components of heritage, we can say. Okay, one is traditions, the other is art. One more term that we can relate with heritage is culture. Okay, then we'll see what do we mean by a civilization, and then we'll see the differences between these terms. Okay, so first let's talk about heritage. Okay, there is notes provided in the PPTs, so you can copy those down. But first, let's discuss. Okay, let's talk about heritage. Like I said, heritage refers to something that is inherited from our past. So, what do we inherit from our past? Yes, anyone? For example, we inherit various types of, yes, architectural styles. Correct. So, architectural styles, they will be part of heritage. Then religion, yes, various religious practices, various beliefs, all those things we inherit from our past. Let's say dressing style. Okay, so even today in Odisha, majority of people, they use dhoti, right? So that is part of our heritage. Okay, so heritage is basically anything. Okay, it can be tangible, like I said, dhoti, various architectural styles. Okay, it can be intangible, such as religious practices, religious beliefs. Okay, and various natural things, such as the let's say forests. Okay, so our ancestors, they did not cut down trees like we do right now. Okay, we are cutting down trees, then crying about how hot it is in Bhubaneswar, and then we are using AC to increase the heat even more. Okay, so the heritage can be anything. Okay, it can be natural, it can be man-made, such as, like I said, forests, land, all those things. Even though they are natural, but Odisha region has inherited those unique style of natural resources from our ancestors. Similarly, it can be man-made, which can be tangible or intangible. Okay, tangible, such as various architectural forms; intangible, such as religious beliefs, practices, etc. Okay, now let's talk about the two parts of heritage. Okay, those part of heritage which are tangible, they are considered as art. Okay, while those which are intangible, those are considered as traditions. So, what do we mean by this? The customs, the beliefs. For example, when a black cat crosses your path, you will be like, okay, let's take 7 steps backward, otherwise something bad will happen. Okay, this is something intangible which has been passed down, right? In my family, whenever we discuss about a snake or see a snake at night, uh, my mother will tell me to say astik, astik, astik. Okay, so that the snake will go away. So this is kind of like a belief that is passed down from the past. Okay, this is what we call as the traditions section of heritage. Okay, so let's consider this box to signify heritage. Okay, then this green section, let's consider this as traditions, and this red section, let's consider this as art. Okay, so traditions, they will be intangible, right? So traditions are intangible, such as customs, beliefs, etc. Okay, you can use any example which helps you remember this. Okay, you don't need to like wrote the exact meaning of traditions, just understand the minute technical difference that is present. Okay. So then what about art? Like I said, this is the tangible section of heritage. We all know about set theory, right? We know about Venn diagrams from our high school. I hope you remember somewhat, right? So if we consider heritage as the set, the bigger set, then tradition and art, they are both subsets of heritage. However, they are not overlapping, that is, they are mutually exclusive. They do not overlap with each other. Okay. Then art. What are the few examples? Such as lost wax technique, making potteries, okay, pottery style, then architecture, painting, all these will be included under the art section of the heritage that we inherit. Okay. Heritage, inherit, you can remember like that. Okay. Then this was about heritage. However, do you think that all those things that we have inherited from our ancestors as our heritage, does it remain exactly the way it has been since the ancient or medieval times, or has it undergone some changes? Even right now it is undergoing changes, right? So traditionally the everyday attire, even the formal attire of local people of Odisha, it has been dhoti and Punjabi, right, with a gamcha on their shoulder, right? So right now we are wearing jeans, shirt, blazers. Okay. So this change that is taking place, this evolution that is taking place in the heritage, is what we call as culture. Okay. So let's do something. Yes. So let's do it like this. Okay. So this will signify culture. That is the section of heritage, both traditions and art, that change with the time, they are considered as the culture. Okay. Which is changing. Okay. Evolution is taking place in the heritage. That change in heritage is considered as culture. Okay. Then one more difference is the culture, it is man-made only, while heritage, like we discussed, is man-made as well as natural. Okay. So if you do like this, if you make your notes like this, it will help you revise all these things in just one page, and it will help you have a better understanding, which you can recreate in the exam. You can draw this as well. Okay. It will rather have a better impression. Okay. So yes, culture and heritage. Okay. Culture is something made by man. It is completely man-made, while heritage is both man-made and natural. Both tradition and art, they are a subcategory of both heritage and culture as well. Okay. You don't need to write subcategory and all. You have to write in a exam worthy language, but for your better understanding, I am using this language. Okay. Then next, let's discuss about civilization. Okay, these are not processes. Okay, these are like I said, some are tangible, some are intangible. Okay, however, these heritage, culture, all these things, they are not a process. They are something you can say as some kind of organization, some kind of belief, way of life. Okay, you can consider heritage and culture as a thing. Okay, however, civilization is the process. Okay, that is the basic difference between civilization and heritage or culture, tradition, art. Okay, civilization is a process, that the process of developing the human society. Okay, as a whole, the culture and heritage part, okay, this mostly concerns itself with the aesthetic pleasure side of the human society. Okay, beliefs, traditions, customs, way of life, art, paintings, all those things, they are like in the more like aesthetic sense, right? However, civilization, it talks about the holistic development of the process of holistic development of the human society. Okay, so what do we mean by this holistic development? It includes the heritage and culture. It includes the political organization or political system. Okay, it includes the economic system. It also includes the engineering, science and technology aspect of society. Okay, science and tech. Okay, all these things, when they develop in a specific region, then that process, that area is known as civilization. Okay, so civilization, it also is associated with a specific territory. Why? Because civilization, it comes from a Latin word civis, which means that someone who resides in a town. Okay, but it's not just about a town or just one person, it's about on a larger scale. So India, it can be considered as a civilization, Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so it was a larger scale, it had uniformity in its political system, economic system, science and technology, and even the heritage and culture. So it was considered as a civilization, while the Chalcolithic cultures, they were not considered as civilizations, because not all of their not all the aspects of their society was developed. Okay, so this was the difference between culture, civilization, heritage, tradition and art. Okay, now so we'll see what do we exactly need to write in the examinations for better impression. Okay, just remember, you need not remember all of this. Okay, just remember a few keywords from here and use what I told you, your understanding, to recreate your answers. Okay, if you wrote everything, it won't help you. Okay, now, so the term culture is derived from a Latin word cultus, which means to refine or cultivate something. Okay. So, heritage which we inherited from our ancestors, we are refining it. That's why it is called as culture. Okay. It is a set of knowledge, experience and behaviors which is commonly shared by a group of people. It includes art, knowledge, beliefs, custom, tradition, morals, festivals, values, attitudes, etc. We already discussed. It includes both tangible and intangible aspects of heritage, but it is only man-made. We see nothing natural here. Okay. It is reflected in the way of life of people, the food they eat, the language they speak, their music, their dance, their religious practices, all those things reflect the culture. Okay. And it is something that is gained through learning. Okay. So, this is about culture. Then about civilization. Okay. So, like I said, civilization comes from the Latin word civis, which means someone who resides in a town. However, it is not confined to a town, rather about adopting better ways of life, making the best possible use of resources. Okay. So, best possible use of resources to have better ways of living. Okay. Then it is described as a process of civilizing or developing the state of human society in holistic way, that is culture, industry, government and technology, all those things they reach the maximum level. Okay. So, this is one keyword, that civilization helps you reach the maximum possible level in all the aspects of life. Okay. Now, the next is heritage, something which means inheritance, which is the past conceded to us. Okay. What is value in the present and should thereof be reserved for future generation. So, you see how the language is different, easier for understanding. That's why I did not use the PPTs right away. Okay. Then it can be both tangible or intangible and even natural. Okay. And provides us clues to the past and showcases how the society has evolved. Then traditions. Traditions are statements, beliefs, customs and information that has been handed down from the past generation to the next. So, it is part of heritage, but it is the intangible part of heritage, right? Then it is, because this is intangible, it is transmitted through the mouth or through practices, and hence traditions, they are prone to changes. Okay. It can be for the better or it can be for the worse as well. The art section of heritage, it is usually not declining. Okay. You won't see much example of declining art forms. They will be evolving for the better mostly. However, traditions, they can either evolve for the better or for the worse, because art is a tangible form. And what we can see, right? See, so if you see this pen, currently we have this, but after some time, someone might develop something like holographic pen. I'll be doing like this and everything will be written. So it will be developing for the better. no one will say that let's stop this and start using chalk and blackboard. Okay, no one will go back to that. Some people might, okay, majority won't. Okay, we are civil service aspirants, we should focus on the words. Okay, now, so traditions, because it is passed through the way of mouth and practices, it gets distorted. Okay, and then we have art. Okay, art, which is a diverse range of human activities including creative imagination. Okay, so this creative imagination is the keyword. Okay, to express technical proficiency, beauty, emotional power, or conceptual ideas. That is the aesthetic part, right? So it can also be defined as a representation of both reality and fiction. Okay, so in art, you can see representation of actual real places, right? Various paintings have been drawn of various beautiful sunsets, sunrises, etc., right? Then we have the example of fictional paintings, the paintings and the images of gods, right? No one has seen the gods, however, that is a art form, the fictional art form, right? Then let's see the difference between these terms. First difference that we'll see is the difference between art and culture. Okay, so while we have already discussed, but let's talk about them in brief. Okay, for better use of language. Okay, so culture is the ensemble of social forms, material traits, customary beliefs, and other human phenomena that cannot be directly attributed to genetic inheritance. Okay, that was heavy, right? So basically it talks about whatever that is evolved by the man, not nature. Okay, genetic inheritance, you should focus on that. Okay, can't be directly attributed to a genetic inheritance. Okay, so it has to be something not part of genetics, that is not part of biology, not natural. Okay, then art is the creative expression of one's experiences, emotions, and other qualities. Okay, like we had already discussed, art is an aspect of culture, that is one subset of culture. Then art is influenced heavily by culture and is born as a byproduct of culture, reflecting some of its customs, beliefs, and values. Okay, so art is influenced heavily by culture. What do we mean by that? Currently, if you see, you will be seeing many people making digital art, right? Because currently there is the culture of digitalization, right? However, in the older times, let's consider the ancient period. There was no canvas, anything, prehistoric period. So cavemen, they used any kind of color that they could find that will allow them to draw on cave walls, cave floor, roof, even some random rock as well. Okay, so they drew on those. However, that evolved, right? Yes, so the scenes that were presented by those ancient cave paintings, they are mostly relating to the ancient people hunting some animal, or some animal eating another animal, some dance or festival scenes, right? So these were the scenes that were presented in the art form of the ancient period, right? So this was the reflection of their culture. And if we see the present day paintings, they will be mostly abstract, right? Someone will draw. So I saw this video on online. So this guy will be throwing paint like this. Sorry. So I'll draw one abstract painting for you. Okay. So he will be doing something like this, then something like this. Okay. Then something like this. Okay. Now this is an abstract painting. Okay. So this is obviously not an abstract painting. This is some gibberish. Okay. So the theme has changed quite a lot. Okay. You can see the use of AI. Okay. A lot of thing has changed, which is reflected in the art form of present times. Okay. Now, now the difference between culture and heritage. Okay. We have already discussed everything that is written here. So culture refers to the ideas, customs, social behaviors of a particular group of people or a society. Okay. While heritage is something that is inherited by the present generation from the past and is preserved for the future. Okay. Culture, it is prone to change, while heritage, it is not. Okay. Culture is man-made, we discussed. Heritage is both natural and man-made. Excuse me. Then, culture, like I said, is based on the present scenarios. The culture of this period is based on this period's society. Okay. While the ancient period, the culture was based on that period of time. Okay. While the inheritance of those past culture is what we call as the heritage. Okay. Culture has both intrinsic as well as extrinsic value, while heritage only has extrinsic value. Then culture, when preserved for the future generation, becomes heritage, and heritage becomes the base on which a new culture is created. Okay. Next, the importance of culture. Okay. So it makes us human. Okay. Humans only, like humans are the only animals that have a culture, but not monkeys, tigers, they don't, right? So it is what makes us human. It is created by us and makes us human. Then the three eternal and universal values of truth, beauty and goodness are closely linked with culture. Okay. Then we'll see, so this was all about the culture, tradition, heritage, art, all those things we discussed, right? Now we'll see how we'll proceed in the classes to come, and then we'll end the class. Okay. So first we'll be discussing about the visual art forms. Okay. So the art and culture of Odisha, it can be not just Odisha, of any region, it can be divided into two types. What two types? Art and culture. Okay. The art section, it can be either visual arts or performing arts. Okay. So the visual art we'll discuss about the architectures such as the cave architectures, right? Then the stupa architectures, then the Kalinga style of temple architecture, and various forts and palaces that were built. Okay. Then we'll discuss about various sculptures. Like in Indian culture, we discuss about the Amravati style, then the Mathura style, right? Here we'll discuss few sculptures of Odisha. Okay. Then various paintings that we can see, important paintings of Odisha, Pattachitra, Lanjia Sora, okay, various tribal, folk, all those kinds of paintings. Then various pottery styles from ancient to present period, not so important the present period, but the ancient style of potteries that have been found in Odisha, they are important. Okay. Then various handicrafts such as applique work, bone craft, then bamboo craft, all those things we'll be discussing. Then in the performing arts, we'll start with dance forms, which will include Odissi, Gottipua, Sambalpuri, then various other folk and tribal dances. Okay. After that, music style, we have the Odissi music, okay, and various other folk musics, all those things we'll be discussing. Then various theatre forms, one of the most famous one is the Dhanujatra, right? So all those things we'll be discussing, not just that, many more will be there, and various puppetry forms of Odisha as well, okay. So those from Puri, they must be knowing about the Budha Budi Nacho, right? In that they use the puppets which tell a story, the dance, okay. So various performances given using puppets. Then we'll go into the culture section, where we'll be mostly focusing on the religion part, which will include Buddhism, Jainism, Mahima Dharma, Jagannath cult, and Bhakti movement, Islam and Christianity as well. Then finally, we'll be discussing various fairs and festivals, Raja, Rathayatra, all those things one by one. Okay. So this was all for today. We'll meet in the next session. Have a great day.